Hello everyone and welcome back to TPS training. This is TPS training on datasheets 1 and datasheets 2 plus home note D, which is home note for the day and home note for the week. Okay, so let's get right into it. DS1, datasheet 1. That is a datasheet that is printed for the week. It is one student per page, 5 days. And as you can see here, it is populated by X's, meaning we're not going to collect data during those academic blocks and for those target behaviors. Here are our academic blocks, and you'll note that they are different than for Query Ander. TPS understands that each student may have different academic blocks, so academic blocks are individualized. If you've changed your academic blocks here, because students have different academic blocks, depending on how your classroom or school is situated, each student may have different academic blocks. And we haven't really covered that yet, but we will in subsequent trainings, but just for right now, note that they can be customized, and if they are customized, the differences between students' academic blocks will be represented here. So I just wanted to make that point. Also note that the increasing and decreasing behaviors are individualized as well. So whatever you had put for that student in setup 2 will be represented for that student. So it's totally individualized data sheets. The most important thing when printing a data sheet is that you enter Monday's date of the school week, which is of course why this is up in the top left. If you enter a date that is perhaps, that's not Monday, like a Tuesday, if we were to put 5/3 over here, I will show you what happens. What happens is that the first day of the school week is going to be Tuesday, and you say, well, maybe we should do that because Monday might not be school. Well, it's always going to display, this page is always going to display 5 days, and so if you put a date that is going to result in Saturday on the bottom here, it will go blank, and really you're much better off just going ahead and doing as it's prompted here, which is always to enter the Monday of the week, even if Monday is not school. If Monday is not school, then these cells will go blank, as you saw just a moment ago. This way the first cell is always Monday and Tuesday and so forth. It's just a nice consistent way of printing the data sheet. Now you'll note that this data sheet is very similar to data entry. It's the same kind of format, and that's done for that very reason. It makes a lot of sense to have a data sheet that's going to look just like your actual data entry, so that way you don't have to do any kind of mental gymnastics to make the data fit. And that is just a convenience factor that ends up also being an efficiency factor. You will not be able to enter data here, so that's sometimes something that teachers forget about when they've gone through the training, and they forget that this is a printing data sheet tab, not a data entry tab. Data entry is always done here. This page is only for printing data sheets. You'll note that we have increasing targets and decreasing targets repeated throughout, so that way you always know which side of the fence you're on. And if you go to print that, you'll see it come up in just a second here. Okay, I know you can't read it all, but you can see the overall format of it. And you have 24 possible pages of data sheets because we have slots for 24 students. The important thing, of course, is to not just click on print, because then it's going to print all 24 pages. So let's say we had 5 students in the class, or 5 students in the class who we are tracking with TPS data. You're going to put page 1 to 5, or if you just wanted to print page 4, you would go print page 4 to 4, and then go and click on print, and you would get your data sheets. If you're printing on a black and white printer, then these will be slightly shaded. If you're printing in color, then these will be green, reminiscent of the old days with green bar computer paper. A little nostalgia there. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. X's are where you're going to ignore. Notice that we have X's for some increasing behaviors for Pete, and we don't have any X's over here because a student can always be bad. And if you move to the right, as I said, each student's target behaviors are listed, and the academic blocks that are listed under under setup or as customized over here, which again we haven't really talked much about. Okay, datasheet 1. It's really that straightforward. You print it, you have it on your clipboard or wherever you want to keep it. It's there for the week. It's very convenient. You can move around the school with it. You can come back and enter the data when you get back into the classroom. It also provides an excellent hard copy for data in case your hard drive becomes corrupt and you don't have any backup, which this is a good time to bring that up. Flash drives are so inexpensive now. I highly recommend to keep backup data. Do not rely on the school's data system, no matter how robust it might appear to be. You always want to have your own personal backup of your data. Datasheet 2 takes a little bit different approach. Same style, same look in general. You still have to put a date, but in this case the date is the day of the datasheet. It's one datasheet per day, 5 students. DS1 is 5 days of data for 1 student. Here on DS2, it's 5 students listed on each datasheet, and you would print a datasheet all day. Why would you want to use DS2? Some teachers find it more convenient to have less paper floating around the classroom. And so this way, each day they print out a new datasheet, or they print a couple in advance, which you're welcome to do just by putting the next day there. Now let me do this real quick. 5.2. Let's put 5.2 up here. The reason why I'm doing that is because I'm selecting a date of which I already have data for, so it was showing up here. The reasons for that really aren't important because you're not going to print a data sheet for a past day. But since I've already have data entered in sample data, I need to print a day for the data sheet of which you haven't collected data for yet, which would be what would normally be happening. You print the data sheet in the morning and the data has not been collected yet. So make a long story short, here we are now. Okay, you'll notice that each of these academic blocks change, each of these increasing and decreasing target behaviors change. As I scroll down, here we have more X's because for X cars we have 2 columns out of commission for the increasing side. Okay. You'll also notice that the text is considerably larger and you don't see the entire goal. Of course, I could have made that smaller, and in previous versions of TPS the type font was smaller so that the entire goal would be printed. The problem is that because I'm printing goals, increasing and decreasing target behaviors, that is, for each student, I have to allocate more space on the page. It's not like datasheet 1 where I get to just do it once at the top. For datasheet 2, each student has their own increasing and decreasing target behaviors. Took a lot of geography of the datasheet. I have to allocate space to that. The type became too small, in other words. So what I did was I said, let's just take the first 12 characters of the increasing and decreasing target behaviors. You know what they are because you do this every day, and this way when you print it, it's much more readable at a distance. And if we had to include the entire goal in this space, it would be very small and difficult to read. So this way you get to see what the goals are, and it makes it much easier to do for recording data as you walk by. Now you'll note there are only 5 pages. That is because there's 5 students per page, and on that last page, which would be the 5th page, there's only 3, so that way we get 24 students. And again, if you only had, let's say, 5 students, you would just print the first page in this case, because there would be the 5 students right there. Okay? Otherwise you're going to get 5 pages. Many of them would be with blanks. And you can see here's Pete, here's Corey, here's Phyllis, here's Rex, and the 5th one in this case, we don't have 5 students yet in this sample data set, so it's just left blank. And that is datasheet 2. We have a little bit of room for notes, not too much, but enough to start writing, and if you need to write on the back of it, you certainly can. And then when you go into data entry, you can enter the fuller note in the notes section for each student. Once again, you're not able to enter any data here. You can click on it, but nothing's going to happen. This is a printing only page. And you'll always want to enter the date of today's datasheet, and so it's displayed up on top. Alright, so that's datasheet 2. Now let's jump over to our home notes. Home notes were developed because teachers wanted to be able to satisfy parents' needs to know on a day-to-day basis how the student was doing. And the home note has gone through lots of renovations over the years. So let's take a look at that. Okay, I'm going to scroll up to the top where we have some data. I just picked a random date. It happens to already be entered, September 10th. Okay, Pete Moss, teacher's name. For increasing targets on the left side, 1 check mark for low, 2 check marks for medium, 3 check marks for high amount of behavior, or 0 if the behavior did not occur. Hopefully not too many zeros on the left side. For decreasing targets, right side, 1x for low, 2x's for medium, 3x's for high amount of inappropriate behavior, or 0 if the behavior did not occur. Alright, so let's scroll down a little bit, see what we have here. I'm going to make this just a little smaller, and as I've done with some of the other trainings, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the ribbon to give us a little bit more space. Okay, so I've entered the date of the home note, and whatever the home note date is that you want to send home to parents is, of course, the date that you're going to put there. Gray blocks not available. Gray blocks are where we have entered X's. Okay. If we did not collect any data at all and did not put an X or an N in the data entry, that would be clear or white. Okay. In fact, let's do that. Let's go to 910. And I'm just going to scroll right up. And here we are. Okay. I'm going to take that X out just to show you what happens. Okay, so 910. And now I'm going to go to home note. And you can see it went to white. So I didn't collect any data, but I didn't tell you why I didn't collect data. It was just a blank. If there is an X or an N, it goes to gray. And that's very handy because it tells us that it was not available for recording. The white block means just simply no data. We don't really know much about it other than no data were collected. Okay, let's take another look at data entry. You can see for quantity of work during arrival, Pete earned a 2. Well, 2 check marks shows up over here. For breakfast, Pete earned a 0. For quantity of work, I guess he didn't eat breakfast that day. He was too busy growling at peers. And because we entered a 0 there, it's going to enter a 0 here. 3 checks, meaning a 3 was the score, and so forth. So 1 check, 2 check, 3 checks on the left, or a 0 if it didn't occur. On the right side, same concept, different symbol. Here we have, let's make that a little bit bigger. Here we have X's. Checks for increasing, X's for decreasing. If the student did not exhibit any decreasing target behavior, zeros show up. So what we want here are 3 checks over here and all zeros over here. Note that the notes for Pete also are entered on the home note. So whatever you type in is going to show up. Now what you'll see here is a percentage of points that were earned. So given that there are 3 points available for each of these cells where something has been recorded, on this particular day it's 3, 4, 7, 9 points were earned, total of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 total possible points being rating points, and that represents 60%. So for quality of work, Pete received 60%, for quantity 56%, for independence 73%. We're looking for 100%. On the decreasing side, 17, 10, 23, and 37% for the day, but you can see that during ELA, Pete had some significantly challenging behaviors. And then what occurs is we average, the home note will average these percentages here and here, the increasing and decreasing percentages, to arrive at a total for the day. So if the parent wants to just get the bottom line measure, 61% for increasing target behaviors and 22% for decreasing target behaviors. Now we have a spot for notes over here, and you can enter your notes here, etc. If you type them in, they're going to stay there until the next time. If you print it, you can handwrite them as well. So as long as you know that the next day when you come to Justin's home note, this note will still be here. It doesn't erase because it's being saved in the home note. So what some teachers do is they make a little bit of a recording template, like social skills were, and then that way each day they fill in some kind of a word like great, and each day they get to change that. Or if you leave this blank, then you can handwrite it in if you wish. It's just another opportunity for you. And then we have parent signature and please sign and return to school. All right, let's bring back the ribbon, and then I want to show you what happens when we go to print it. Again, we have 24 notes. This is one student per page, and if I were to print just Pete's home note, I would print page 1 to 1, or if I wanted to print the first 2, etc., or if I wanted to print 3 to 5 or whatever, you get the idea. We've gone through this before, and you'll see this menu again and again. So print the sheets that you need, otherwise you're going to print all 24 of them. Now, another nice thing, and an increasingly preferred way to go with home notes, is to click on the email. Now this doesn't actually send the email to parents. TPS does not have that functionality, and there are reasons for that. There are HIPAA requirements and so forth. We want to keep TPS separate from email addresses of parents, because we're dealing with confidential information. But if you click on this, what it does, and all it does, but it's still very important, is it copies that home note. And in Outlook or some other program, you can paste it as a picture, and this will copy this whole home. It has copied this already, and now you would just go to Outlook, paste as a picture in an email, so that way you can send the home note to parents without actually having to print it out. Okay. Home note for the week does something similar, and what we do here is we put Monday's school date. In this case, we didn't have any data collected. This was the first day of school. We didn't have any data, so it just leaves that blank. But then what it does is it shows you on a weekly basis using a format that's very similar to Datasheet. It uses the same template style to show the number of check marks that you, or the number, it shows check marks to reflect the numbers that you have entered into your datasheet. So once again, if you enter a 3, you're going to get 3 check marks. So it displays the check marks and the X's and the zeros, and we'll do that for the entire week. So as we scroll down, we can see it prints or displays everything that has gone on for that week, plus your comments, your notes. And the same thing about email. When you click on that, it is going to copy the entire note so that you can paste it, if you wanted to do that, in some other electronic document. And similarly, if you go to print it, we have, give it just a second to think about it. Thank you. 1 per page, 24 pages. Again, you want to use your settings boxes to indicate which pages you want to print, or else you're going to get all 24 of them. And the nice thing about this is you get to select the frequency. Do you want to do it every day, or do you want your data sheet to reflect just one day, or do you want to do a data sheet for the week? And you have those options with TPS. Okay, well, there we have it. Datasheet 1, Datasheet 2, Home Note Day, and Home Note Week. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to working with you on additional training modules.